Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. I am very grateful for all of your comments, for all of your likes, those that share and subscribe, and of course, support us completely. We are definitely grateful for that and for being here, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this later on. Totally appreciate it. Now, I just want to kind of mention that if you subscribe, there's no cost to it, and this way you get notifications of every single event that happens in my channel. With that being said, I want to bring this phenomenal guest on. I met through LinkedIn, and just her energy just pulled me in, and I wanted to share all about her with you guys. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. You saying such nice things about me. Oh my goodness, you're making me blush.
You have great energy, and
Oh,
I think it's an energy that should be shared and by many people and to many people, and why not?
well,
So
thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I know we tried to get together a while back and
yes,
things kept
yes,
happening, so I'm glad we're together.
yes, yes. So tell the audience about you and your story, your experiences.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna kind of set the stage of where I am right now, who I am in this moment, and then I'm gonna take you guys through some history about me and please feel free to like jump in and ask questions at any time. Like I really enjoy like the back and forth and I get kind of awkward, I feel like, when I'm just so feel free. So like it says in the corner, my name is Sarah and I'm 33. I live on the West Coast in Oregon and I have lived mostly out here, but I have been back and forth from Upper East Side. No, that's not right. Upstate New York, in the Albany area. That's where my dad's family's from. My mom's family's from here. They've been married and so forever. So we're kind of always back and forth. But anyways, I have two kids. I have a 15-year-old son named Carter and a 2-year-old daughter named Sophia. And I had my son when I was right before I turned 18. So I was 17. And then I had my daughter, you can do the math, 31, 32. So I just started all over. But which is fine because I love kids. Like I always did daycare and babysat as soon as I could. I'm the oldest of 4. So it's perfect. I have lots of pets. I somehow accumulated 3 cats. But I feel like sensitive people, they really need to have their own cat. I don't know
Yes,
if you've ever thought about
yes,
it,
yes. At
but
one point, I have 5. So
you have 5. Okay, so you
at
get it.
one point, not any longer, but at one point, I did.
They just keep coming, right?
Yes.
But then we also have a really cute little dog, a little French bulldog named Monty. So we've got Kitty and Gato and Tallulah. So we've got a full house around here.
Mhm.
But I am the last 5 years have been wild. Like I'm sure everyone's really have been since COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I was working in the hospitality industry doing like wine tasting and events and stuff like that. And nobody was going wine tasting when COVID happened. So I got the opportunity to do some online school, finish up some degree work that I was doing. And then I got sick and I was sick for quite some time. And it was COVID, then it was long COVID, then it was pneumonia, then it was lupus. And when I was about to be taken to the hospital and be intubated, which I really didn't want to do, and it worked out, but hindsight, I probably should have gone in. But not long after that, within like a couple weeks, I found out that I was pregnant. So I go to my doctor and I'm in the process of being diagnosed with lupus. And it's a long process. There's like
Mhm.
8 different specialists that you have to go see. And all of that to say there is also like a blood test that they do. And they're like, okay, you do the blood test. If it comes back I think positive, then there's really a high chance that you have lupus. If it comes back negative, you probably don't have lupus, but there's still 800 people that you have to go see. So I was in the process of that. The blood test came back saying she's got it. But then I found out.
I've been diagnosed with lupus, so I understand.
Oh, have you?
Yes, yes,
Oh
yes.
my gosh.
It took a few years.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very long process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's a scary, scary illness.
Yes, yes.
So thoughts to you. And now I don't even feel bad saying this. So
No.
I was I go to my doctor, and I was on birth control and really wasn't, being so sick, I wasn't like doing the thing that you do to make babies very often. And so it was like, how is this even possible? And given the health stance that I was in, my doctor's like, well, it could get better, or it could get worse, or it could go away completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, given my luck right now, it's probably going to get worse, right? Anyways, it didn't. And I am in complete remission. I got tested about 6 months after my daughter was born, and knock on wood, but since she's been born, she's 2 now. And since she's been born, I've had like a stomach bug, and like I was sick all the time. So that's my favorite little miracle that's happened. Not little, it's a big deal, but my favorite miracle that's happened. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I've been a stay-at-home mom with her for a couple of years, and now I'm working on building up a business that I feel like I was pushed into the darkness, or led into the darkness more so. And they're like, okay, we want you to do this. And I'm like, do what? Like, let's, but like it's been a process, and I'm figuring it out. And starting with, talking with people like you, and doing some interviews here and there, and kind of finding my footing and figuring out what it is that I want to do. But essentially, coaching, I've gone through, the easiest way to say it, I feel like, is a spiritual awakening. And I thought about this last night, and I'm like, how do you describe a spiritual awakening? But when you think about, like, okay, you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, you're in your bed, you went to sleep, and you wake up. So it's like a peaceful kind of thing, usually. Like, you're not stoked to wake up, but it's like, okay, I know where I am. I know what's going on. Right. This is the routine. But if you are, dead tired, and you fall asleep on the couch, and you wake up from that nap, and you think you missed the school bus, but you graduated, 5 years ago, that kind of wake up is more what it feels like, where you really have to find grounding, and you have to find stability, where it's like, what, I wasn't even asleep. Was I asleep? What day is it? Like, I don't know what's going on. So that has been like, you think like, oh, you're waking up, like, oh, you wake up. Like, no, like you wake up, like you wake up. So where I feel really drawn to lead people is like through that process, and understanding, like, you're going to feel a little bit crazy, just like you do when you wake up on the couch and you think you need to go catch the bus, or you're ready for dinner and it's the morning, like those kind of crazy, discombobulating things. I thought about that metaphor last night, and I was like, sweet, perfect timing. I can share that. So that's kind of been the last couple of years. And so that's where we're at right now. I have a business name called Saratopia, and it is something that I actually came up with. Like, the name popped into my head. It was like 2020. So this was like 5 years ago, and I'm an artist. And so I was like playing with graphic design at the time. And so I was like making all this branding and doing this and that. And I'm like, what am I even doing with this? But like, I had the name. Right. So I've been holding on to this name for a while, and it comes from my first name and my middle name. So Sarah Renee. So it's the first 2 letters of that. And Topia being like, I imagine it like utopia, like a beautiful place, like a destination of peace, right? So that's where the name comes from. And my website, by the time this is shared with everybody, my website will be up. So I'll send you the link for that, so that you can share that. That'd be great. Thank you. And so I guess I kind of want to backtrack a bit to let's see. I'm like, do I go all the way to childhood, or do I go start with what was going on 5 years ago? I'm going to go to childhood. I'm going to just dive into it. Go for it. Go for it. So something that I feel like is there's reoccurring themes. Like I have been doing tons of networking and tons of researching, and I'm going to stick to my own experiences. But one thing that I have noticed to be a reoccurring theme is that people who have shared experiences that I have, some of which that I'm going to share, a lot of us have had near-death experiences. And so I am going to take you all the way to the beginning. And I actually came into this world through a near-death experience. So I was like 2 weeks late. Like when I say I was still in my mom's tummy before I was born. So 2 weeks late, and she had run out of amniotic fluid. And like, this was 30 years ago. They don't let you go that late now. But
Right.
so there was an emergency C-section that needed to be had. She was in labor for a long time, and then my heart rate dropped. And so they whisked her away to have me born through a cesarean. And I came out blue. My heart had stopped while I was still inside. I had the cord around my neck. But they revived me, and here I am. So I kind of think about some of the experiences I'm going to share. Like, I think that I was born in a way that kind of left a foot in the spiritual world, where I came in with a near-death experience. So like, it's so confusing to think like I died before I was born. So it kind of makes sense, all the weird stuff that I experienced. So now that's not the only near-death experience that I've had. It seems to be triumphant and to set the course for this life that I've begun living. So when I grew up in like a very, very Christian household. We went to church every Sunday. Like, sorry, Mom, if you watch this, but like super strict. Like we were not allowed to, like, she didn't enjoy us watching the Rugrats because there was a mean girl on there. Like we didn't watch the Power Rangers. I didn't know who Britney Spears was. Like we were very, very sheltered in a way. And then, I mean, not to be controlling, but that was what she thought was best for us. And so I digress. So I was born in 92, and then so this was around 95. I started talking really early, and I was reading and writing really early. That's just been like my nerdy little gift that I was given. And so I was like the kid that was like walking around with the journal, taking notes on things and whatever else. So I was an intelligent child, but with being sheltered, this next story is what's a little confusing. So we moved into a house that the man who owned it previously had passed away. And I freaked my parents out because I was friends with the man that died in the house. And my mom told me a story one time, not till I was 13, but she told me the story. And she said that we were in your room, and she's like, I had just rearranged your room, and I was asking you, and I was like 2.5 at this time. And she's like, I was asking you what you thought of your room, if you liked, where I moved the bed and stuff like that. And what I told her was that I really liked the room, and this is where I sleep, and this is where Grandpa sleeps. And she got full body chills, and she was very nervous and uncomfortable because the corner that I had pointed to is actually the corner in which the man had passed away in. And I was able to describe him, and I knew like what he was like, and I would make her set out like a little spot for him to have tea parties with me, and he was like my friend. And what is interesting, and I think what added a lot of validity to the experience, is that my dad's very like see it to believe it, and my mom is like aware of the spiritual aspects of life, but she's not one to just dive in and be like, oh, that's haunted, right? So they live like in the house. There was a big flight of stairs, and they would regularly hear footsteps going up the stairs, to the point where my dad was like grabbing his bat thinking that somebody was breaking into the house, and they would hear the blinds moving and all of that. So they were like, okay, this is happening, and Sarah is describing the man weird, right? So eventually that kind of faded away, but that was like my early years. And being so sensitive, I believe that I like interpreted and took in like, okay, that made my parents uncomfortable when I shared that with them. Right. And so I'm going to kind of keep it to myself a little bit. And then I trained myself to do that. But I do have memories of seeing orbs when I was little. And when I say orbs, I'll get more into what I understand about the orbs, but little balls of light, little 7-year-old Sarah, I my first memory of the orbs, I was trying to, because I know when people are lying. That's like one of my powers. And so I didn't believe my mom about the tooth fairy. I was like, she's not telling the truth about that. I'm going to figure it out. And so I lost a tooth, and by lost, I like yanked those puppies out because I wanted the money, you know? So I took the tooth out, and I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. And I'm like 6, 7 years old.
Right.
Probably 5 or 6 actually. Anyways, so I put the tooth under my pillow. I don't tell my mom that I lost the tooth. And I'm like, if the tooth fairy is real, there's going to be money. If not, there's not going to be money. Right. Cause no. So I had woken up from and like sleeping, and it was under my pillow, and I woke up and I saw a ball of light, and it was leaving my room. Like it was in front of me when I opened my eyes, and I saw it go through the radiator and out the window, and I could still see the image of it. And there was nothing under my pillow. There was, the tooth fairy wasn't real, but in the same breath, I saw a ball of light leave my room. So little Sarah's like, oh, that's the tooth fairy. And then, oh no, it's not the tooth fairy. So yeah, that's my first memory of that. And then we moved to Oregon when I was about 7 or 8. And I continued seeing things, knowing things, and just kind of having a sixth sense about things. And I really kept a lot of it to myself because I don't enjoy upsetting other people. And so a lot of it I kind of kept to myself and suppressed. And I actually have a memory of being in like 2nd or 3rd grade and putting like visually, like telling myself that I had to put on different hats, like as like, you can also think of it as like a mask, but like I had to be different people in certain different places. And when I had that memory, I like broke my heart, like so sad. Like how much does it suck that a kid just can't be who exactly they are at all times, you know? And so that's a big driving mission of mine, is to help kids that are sensitive, and also the parents of sensitive kids, to be able to like allow them to embrace who they are. Like jumping forward a lot, my daughter the other day pointed up to the loft and goes, guy up there. And then she's like describing him, and there was no guy up there. I mean, no physical breathing human up there. And so I told her, I was like, tell him to go away. Do you want him to go away? Tell him to go away. And she goes, go away, guy. And I'm like, did it work? And she's like, yeah, he went away. And so like, that was like such a big moment for me, because had my mom had the knowledge and understanding to teach me that when I was her age, like who would I be today? You know? So it's just very encouraging. And that's like really the core of what I care about, is teaching people how to help the kids in this world.
Beautiful.
I'm going on a bit. But so then we're back in like grade school area, and I was very smart and intelligent, not really so much at math, but reading and writing and like leading groups and that kind of stuff was big for me. And I was like I'm always very competitive. And I remember being like, there was this kid in my class, and he was really super wicked smart, and he got taken to the high school for math classes. And I didn't want to be that smart, but I was like, he's getting attention for being so smart. Like, I wish that I was, right? And then there was this group that was pulled out, and it was, they called it TAG at my school. And it was for talented and gifted. And I was like, sweet. I'm smart. I'm in this special class, blah, 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 blah. So I have faded memories of it. And I remember being in it in New York. So that would have been like 1st grade. And then my most vivid memories are like 3rd, 4th grade, which is when I was in Oregon. 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So in Oregon, I remember being pulled out. I was in this group, and I was like studying the other kids that were in the group. And smart boy that was bussed off to the high school wasn't in that group. And so I was like, okay, is this a trick? Like, are we not actually talented and gifted? Like, why is super smart pants not in this group? But like this kid that is failing, I know she's very nice, but she's failing. So why is she in this group? Okay, maybe this is like an idiot group. I don't know, you know? But I wanted to shine in it. And so they would have us do, and I have very foggy memories, but I have memories of being in this class and we were in separate rooms and we would do different worksheets and listen to music, listen to, like, there were these big, huge headphones that we put on, and there was like little dings that we would listen to, and like, can you hear this? Can you hear that? And what they tested me on primarily was like reading comprehension. And given that I was such a good reader and writer, I was like trying to like do really, really well. And so there was one instance where they took me to a room, and I can't recall exactly who was there, but I was the only student, and there was older adults that were there that I didn't necessarily recognize. And all of the windows in this classroom had cardboard on them. And I found that interesting. And I asked them, they're like, oh, it's just because it's really bright and we want to give you like no distraction or whatever. That was the reason that I was given. But then they had me read like a couple paragraphs, and they said that they wanted me to read it and they wanted me to tell them like what, I can't remember exactly, but it was along the lines of like what happens next in the story, and also like what people were thinking. And I'm like, okay, we just learned about foreshadowing in class. So I'm going to use my psychic skills, because like I knew that I had like psychic abilities at that age, but I wasn't telling people about it, right? And so I was like, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to use my woo-woo powers, and I'm going to tell them what's going to happen, and they're going to be so impressed, right? And so I read the thing and I told them, and they asked me, they're like, how do you know that? How do you know that that's what happens next? And I told them, well, sometimes I just know things. And I remember being dead terrified. And they had actually walked me back to my class, and they had talked to my teacher, and I was like, okay, I'm either in a lot of trouble, or finally people are starting to recognize that I'm special. And then nothing came of it. Nothing came of it. My mom, I told her about this, and she's like, no, I never got a phone call. They never said anything to me. But my teacher started treating me completely different. And I was like prized possession at that point. Like I'm still friends with her on Facebook. Like she adores me.
Right.
And so I noticed a shift, but it wasn't the shift that I wanted. So then jumping now later to like where we are now, I've been doing a ton of research into people that have experienced similar phenomenons. And again, with the near-death experiences being a reoccurring theme, I'm also noticing that this talented gifted program, or gifted and talented, there's a lot of different names for it, is another reoccurring thing that people have experienced. So if I'm talking to a new person and I say, so tell me about like grade school, what were you experiencing? Were you part of any, whatever? And they're like, yeah, I was. And it's memories that come back. And so the more that we, those that remember, the more that we're talking about it and sharing our experiences of it, it's igniting memories in other people. So I feel like it's really important to talk about. And not necessarily like why we were in it, conspiracies, like there's a lot to think about there, but what is a bigger and more important, I feel personally, is remembering and getting those memories back, because it brings us back to wholeness, and from there we're able to do what we're supposed to do now. So yes, like there are certain people that should figure out the conspiracies behind it, but I don't feel drawn to do that. I feel drawn to help people remember and bring them wholeness again. So anyways, I'll go now to 2020. I feel like was a big deal. So that's when I started staying home more, and I literally, the universe slowed me down. And I'm not a slow person. I clearly talk a lot, and I have been a single mom since I was 17. And I worked 3 jobs at one point. I've always been a business manager. And so I've always been just go, 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 go. And so this hit me hard. Like, I just have to stay home all day. Like, I'm going to go crazy. I bought like 40 books that I never ended up reading. And I had all these different projects that I was doing and whatever else. But, I had also just gotten out of a really bad relationship. And I remember going to my doctor and telling them that I knew, because it was a relationship that was longstanding and it was a back and a forth. And I went to them and I told them that I keep going back to this relationship, even though I know what's going to happen. And I want to figure out why I'm doing that. and I feel depressed sometimes, and I feel really anxious sometimes, and I have panic attacks sometimes. I had night terrors when I was a child. I'm like telling them all of this. And also, I see dead people a lot of the time. Sometimes they're in dreams. Sometimes I see them in real life. And also, like, I know things that I don't have any logical cognitive way of explaining that I know them.
Right.
And because at that point, I'm like, okay, if I'm crazy, lock me up. Lock me up. Like, I was like at this point where I'm like, what needs to be done? Because if I'm actually certifiably insane, then I want to know. You know, like, I
You
don't
want
want
to
to.
get your treatment? You want to get
Yeah. Like, you go to the doctor because you got a broken foot. Like, you can't hide it. Like, you need to figure it out, right? So they do the whole psychoanalysis, and they did the DSM-5 test, and they actually had to run it twice. So initially it was one psychiatrist and then like my medical doctor, and then she got a student. And so they did it all. Those three of them worked on it together, and then they wanted to retest me. Because they didn't understand the results. And so they retested me and then brought in 2 additional overseeing doctors to confirm their results. And what they found was very interesting. I have no psychosis. There was no schizophrenia, nothing like that. They found anxiety, depression, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and they're explaining all that to me. And I was like, well, yeah, I was in an abusive relationship, so obviously I have trauma. And they're like, no, complex trauma is from trauma from an early childhood. And I remember being so confused, and it's still a bit confusing, not so much now, but it was for years, because I'm like, I have a loving Christian family. Like, yes, there may be, like, things necessarily, like, but I wasn't traumatized, like, to that point. I wasn't beaten. I wasn't like what you think trauma to be.
Right.
And so then I'm like, that they're wrong. That can't be right. And so then I was like, okay, so what about like the seeing ghosts and the knowing this and that? Because I had told them stories and stuff. And and they said that I was a highly sensitive person. They said some people are just more sensitive, and you seem to be one of those people. And ironically, I had gifted the doctors a painting that I had made because I just was so grateful for them taking all this time on me. And it was COVID, so I had time, and I was painting. And I had made a painting a few months prior to that, and I gave it to them. And they were like, see this painting? This is a perfect example of your highly sensitive person. So they take the painting out and they show it to me, and it's like a lady with flowers for hair, and she's covering her face, and that's what the painting is. The medical student that was a part of this group that was working on my diagnosis, she had just gotten back from Mexico, and I had never met her. She was just like reading the documents. I never had a conversation with her. I didn't even really know about her, to be honest. And she pulled up her sleeve, and she had, a week before our meeting where she was telling me, she had gotten that same image tattooed on her arm.
Ooh.
And so they were like, see, this is what we need. This is the highly sensitive person. You're not crazy. We're telling you you're not crazy. So that that very much catapulted a lot of attempts to understand who I am. And it added a lot of validity to the experiences that I've had. And so at that point, I wasn't like a raging alcoholic or anything, but I was working in a winery, and I had developed a habit of having wine regularly. And so I decided to quit drinking, and I started working with one of the psychiatrists that was a part of that diagnosis, and worked with her for a little while, and started, unraveling and digging in a little bit. And then after my daughter was born, I dove headfirst into therapy. I found a therapist, and I have been seeing her for like a year and a half at this point. Sorry, one second. Hey, Carter, can you grab my charger for my computer? It's plugged in over there. It's like the big black square. Sorry, my computer's about to die. And so she and I have been working very, very closely. It's like a weekly appointment. And I've had a lot more experiences since I have started working with her. And I kind of need to pause just for a second because I need to plug my computer.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. So you were saying that they didn't find you crazy, which is good, right? It's great validation, and that you were very gifted,
Yes.
especially gifted. So
Yeah. Yeah.
now you've been in therapy since your daughter was born,
Hmm. Yeah.
or a little after that. Now, what has the therapy given you? What tools, what has it provided for you to help you realize what road you're taking, what journey you're taking?
Yeah. And that's a great question. And my therapist is like, she's so great, and I just really do care for her so much, but she has made me mad so many times because she won't tell me certain things about herself. She's very vague
Hmm.
about her own. She doesn't do self-disclosure.
Right.
And so she focuses everything on me, which is the sign of a good therapist. But it's mostly been, and she gives me tools, and there's like flashback protocol, and have you tried this, and she encourages certain things like journaling, which I will talk a little more about. But um, really what it does is it holds the space for me to understand myself. I
Hmm.
haven't historically been able to hold that space for myself, and there hasn't been somebody that's been able to hold it for me either. So really she held the space for me. And that is, um, I'm not a therapist. I did study psychology in school, but I'm nowhere near a therapist. And
Right.
that isn't what I'm trying to do. But as far as my coaching clients,
Hmm.
that I have the capacity now with the boundary work and the self work and the understanding that I've done. I have the space, I have the ability to hold space for other people so that they can come across their progress in the way that I have to.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there might be somebody who is experiencing more severe psychosis, and I might recommend that they see a therapist or go to a doctor. But I'm also probably going to recommend that they go spend some time by some water, and they
Hmm.
do some journaling, and they do some painting. And, a lot of people aren't as crazy as they feel. And
Right.
just having that space to be able to speak on their experiences, and just bringing something into the physical world and getting it out of your head is so empowering in a lot of
Hmm.
different ways, whether it's in conversation or journaling is a big one too. So um, it's actually a couple days shy of a year since I had one of the most monumental experiences that I have had. And it started about this time last year. And it's been, I don't even have words to describe what it's been, but I'm going to try. It's been like a Ferris wheel, but also one that's not attached to anything, but it's staying upright, but it's very much like, whoa, 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 whoa. So trying to think like the progression of it all. I've always like who I am, like prior to prior to last year, like it was normal for me to say like, oh, somebody died here, and then like, somebody looking it up and being like, oh yeah, someone died here like last week. Like those kind of sensitivities, those kind of phenomena, that's been normal for me. Or like, lights flicking out and on, or hearing things, like those kind of things have been normal. But what started happening in the last year, the first thing that I really noticed was, and I was in therapy about 6 months or so at that point, 3 to 6 months at that point, when everything really started taking off. And what I noticed first was I had a security camera facing my front yard. And I started like, I've always been a little nervous about people, but I
Hmm.
started kind of like checking through the alerts each morning, and I started noticing some weird stuff. I started noticing that there was like this mist that was going through. And when you look at it initially, you would think, okay, that's fog or that's rain or whatever. But there was like a bush in the scene and an umbrella, and like you could see other objects in the screen, and none of them were moving. But this mist was whoosh, 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 going all over the place. And so that was like the first thing I started noticing. And then I started spending a little bit more time outside at night and looking at the stars, which is something I've always enjoyed doing. It's very grounding. I really enjoy it. But then I was also at the same time having really bad relationship problems with my daughter's dad. And I was feeling a lot of emotions, and also being in therapy too, like a lot of emotions come up. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in an emotional state, and was looking up at the stars and just doing deep breaths. And then I noticed that some of them were probably moving. And I'm trying to be like, okay, is that actually moving? So I spent some time observing. And then over, a couple weeks, I was out there regularly each night, spending a little bit of time, and I noticed they were changing colors and blinking and going, up and down, side to side, kind of swiveling around. And I was like, no, those are moving. Like those are definitely moving. And I had
Mm-hmm.
people that I was like my ex, my son, I would say, come on and like see this. Like tell me if
Right.
I'm crazy, right? Like, is this moving? And they're like, no, that's moving. That's weird. And they like went right back inside. They didn't want to part of it. But me, I'm like, okay, let's see what this is. So one night, and this was like a catalyst of the orb experiences. One night I was sitting on the porch, and I was looking at one of them, and I just thought this thought in my head, like, who are you? What are you here for? I had all these questions that started coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, deep breath. Why are you here? Like, do you need help? Was like my first question. And it kind of faded a little bit. And then I heard in my head, like you have thoughts that pop into your head,
Mm-hmm.
like most normal people do. But this came through as like a laughter, like a sarcastic kind of laughter. And so I was like, okay, like you want to help me? Like, cause they like laughed when I asked if they wanted help. And it's like, no, you want to help me. And I'm like, okay, help me with what? Like, I mean, my life's kind of a shit show right now, but like, is that what you want to help me with? Like, what are we doing? Like if
Right.
shining lights in the sky that want to help me, like, cool, let's do it. And as soon as I acknowledged the thought of you want to help me, and like the speed of thought, as soon as I acknowledged it, it shot right over my head. And so that was like a catalyst of trying to, number one, remind myself that I'm not actually crazy. Number two, understand what the phenomenon is, understand, what it wants from me, what I want from it, developing like a relationship essentially. And the
Right.
best way I have to describe it is like, I'm very in tune with animals. And so you might be able to like, this is the easiest way to explain it. So like if you see a stray cat or a stray animal or whatever, and you want it to be able to trust you, it has to like first recognize your presence, and you can't be like nervous or excited to see this animal. Like you
Right.
have to be in a calm state, and in no way are they animalistic, but it's just an easy comparison. And so I practice that. And when I say like, when I'm summarizing this, like I'm talking like 6 months to 7 months, like I was practicing. And I really tried to stay solely to my own experiences. But then I began doing a little bit of research, like, does anybody else see orbs in the sky?
Mm-hmm.
The only one. What else is going on? And then I found a few people that were, and I was recognizing that they not only had similar life experiences to but they also were coming to understand and experience the same things that I was. And so I found, some community there, and began talking to different people that were experiencing different things. And it was so therapeutic to be able to share my experiences and practice doing that. But also like allowing people to share theirs too has been very, very comforting. And so as of recently, I have, and I have some photos that I could totally share with you if you want to add
Yeah.
them or whatever. But there was one time where I was outside, and I get into like this meditative state where I do some deep breathing, do slow, deep breathing, and do my very best to clear my mind and just be still. And I get to this point where I'm so still that I can hear my heartbeat. And that's where I know like I'm at. That's
Mm-hmm.
the sweet spot. And so there was one time, there's so many different stories, and we don't have the time to tell all of them, but I'll tell the one, and I'll share the pictures of the one. So I was always very respectful of like not having my camera out or recording everything. Like I wanted it to be an organic experience, and I
Right.
didn't want them to think like I was just trying to get footage, because a renounding theme is like, we're here to teach, not prove. They're not trying to prove their existence. They're here to
Mm-hmm.
teach those that can understand. So I'm laying out, and I see a lot of orbs, and they come down and they go up, and some of them are just like going in one direction. Some of them kind of flutter around. There's a lot of different characteristics that they have. But one time, and I've seen the owl quite a few times, but this one instance, there's a huge white owl, and I have like a white Ford Focus car. It's not a big little sedan, right? And this bird was easily the size of that car. Like, it was a gigantic bird, and it was at a time that it was in a speed of thought again. It was at a time where I was feeling a lot of peace, and a lot of, like, it was a very good feeling that I was feeling. And it flew over at that time, completely silent, as owls are, but bigger than I've ever seen a bird to be, and also completely white. And where I am located geographically, that's not a common type of owl. Usually they're brownish. And I just started crying instantly. And like, for being a highly sensitive person, I'm also not a crier. Like, I'm pretty thick skinned. And so for me to just break down weeping was an odd experience. And so I called my son, because he was like, call me if you see anything cool tonight. And I was like, okay, I will. So I call him and I tell him about this owl and how emotional it was for me. And it was so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And he, as a 15-year-old would, he goes, well, it'd be cool if you had a picture. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if you had a picture, like, I just told you something really cool. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, so I said goodnight to him, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Okay, whatever. So he's spending the night at a family member's house. And so anyways, we say goodnight. And as I'm like still laying there, like, okay, what else you got? Like, kind of getting excited. I just hear in my head over and over, be cool if you had a picture, be cool if you had a picture. And I'm like, okay, either I am talking to interdimensional beings or I'm batshit crazy. But like, yeah, it would be cool if I had a picture. So I go get my camera, and I have like a Canon. There's like a 300 millimeter range, so it's not like a super, super nice camera, but it's not like it's a better camera. So I go get my camera, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna take pictures. Like, this is crazy, right? I'm being like a little sarcastic about it. But I'm sitting there with my camera, and then I just hear, in the same way that I heard with my camera. I'm sitting there with my camera, and I hear, get ready, get ready, get ready. And I'm like, I am ready. I have my camera here. Da, 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 da. And I hear like, no, get ready. Like, get ready. Like, I hear it in like a loving way, but also like a very demanding way. And so I put the camera up to my eyes, and like, I can see orbs like going around or whatever, but I'm like, these are all really too far away to get a decent picture. And then one comes down like tree level, like probably this height of like a top of a 2-story house. I'm not good with measuring distance, but ish. It comes down, and I'm like, holy shit. And so then I start taking pictures, and I go really, really fast, and I hear like, calm down, you're gonna have time to get the picture, like, just go slow and take the picture. So I'm, picture. And I got some absolutely beautiful pictures, and it just came down, and it hovered right above where I was. Oh, you can't see my hand. It covered right above where I was, and kind of like lingered for a little bit, and then it went on. And so I was like, even just now telling you that, I get goosebumps. And so
yes, so am I.
So it was beautiful, and I would love to send you the pictures because they're really pretty. But yeah, so, and now I'm treating it more like a relationship. So when I, like, for the example, the other day, I really needed somebody to watch my daughter so that I could focus on my business. And so I say prayer, and I don't necessarily mean that to any sort of religious standpoint, but I have a relationship with these entities. And so I feel the energy that I feel when I'm with them, just like you are with a close friend, and how it feels to be with that friend. It's the same kind of idea. It's nothing magical or anything. I mean, it is magical, but it's not anything crazy, different, whatever. So when I say pray, I take in that energy. And I said, I need somebody that I trust, that is perfect for my daughter. All of these expectations that I had of somebody to watch my daughter. I say that, and I'm on a walk with my daughter at that time. And I have been waiting at least a year to find somebody and for everything to line up. So it's not like, oh, I just thought of this and wanted it. Like, I've been waiting for a long time. But as soon as I focused and directed that energy to a very clear ask,
Mm-hmm.
Literally on that same walk, a lady drives by, she gets out of her car. This has never happened to me. I live in like a neighborhood, a small town, you know, it's not like there's people all over.
Right.
She gets out of her car and walks up to me and she said, "Oh, I just saw you walking and I just opened a daycare. We just moved here. I wanted to give you my card." So
There you
literally
go.
within hours, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's the turnaround time. Okay, let me like make a list of all the things that I need right now. So, you know, but like at the same time, I'm like, I'm not somebody that usually asks for things.
Right.
Like I'm more like, I'll take the cards as they're dealt kind of situation. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm transferring now more into like designing my life and taking control of it and working with this energy that's found me to build the life that I really want. But my daughter's been going there for a few weeks now, and it literally is perfect, like perfect. Couldn't ask for a better situation. And so that was another miracle that I experienced that I thought was really cool. And one thing I do want to say about that is with spiritual experiences, and this is advice to whoever's watching, there was a time where I was talking to my therapist and I was telling her about some situation that happened at a store. And it's another story that's cool, but I won't go into it. But I was telling her about this. And I was also explaining in that same session that I was feeling frustration because at that point, I hadn't been seeing, you know, I wasn't seeing entities and I wasn't having weird supernatural things happen to
Right.
me. But I had this interaction with people that was really, really cool. And so I was feeling frustration, but also telling her this story. And she goes, "So why is that not a spiritual experience of what happened? Why don't you call that a spiritual experience?" And I was like, okay, that's cool. Well, then in that case, I'm actually having a lot of spiritual experiences. And so in my journaling, I just begin anything that feels like a synchronicity is a great way to explain it, but anything
Mm-hmm.
that feels like divinely orchestrated or the stars aligned in order for this to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're seeing orbs in the sky or you're seeing gigantic owls or you're seeing shadow figures. It doesn't mean any of that. It can very much be practical in your real life. But as soon as you draw your attention to that and acknowledge and recognize it, then it allows for more and more to happen. So that is, if you take anything away from this. But I will say there was a really cool experience that I think people will definitely enjoy that happened about a year ago. And I mentioned it in the beginning of our conversation, and I definitely want to tell you about it. Because it's something that I didn't even want to talk about. I didn't even journal about it. I didn't even tell anybody about it for months after it happened because it was so creepy, so crazy, that I was scared for a while. So I was doing my therapy session and don't touch that. Sorry, my dog is trying. Don't. There's enough issues without you getting involved. I was in therapy and I used to have panic attacks a lot. I haven't had them much at all lately for a year. But anyways, I was when I say panic attack, like I start hyperventilating and if you've hyperventilated, you know what that means.
Yeah.
You just kind of like lose control of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was having a little panic attack and I was hyperventilating and I was on the phone with my therapist, kind of like I'm, you know, right now with you.
Right.
And I was sitting in my car doing our call and I felt a click. And that's a weird thing to say, but like it literally felt like it was in my ear canal. I felt the click and it was in my left ear. And in that same moment, I felt, and I've never experienced this before yet, I want to again, but the only time this has happened, and it felt like on a cellular level, every cell in my body shifted to the direction that I heard the click. And it was the weirdest feeling. And so I'm still hyperventilating at this point because I'm also kind of freaked out, like what's going on? I'm still sitting in my car, but I felt like I got pulled over. And then I look to the left and I see a spirit that I recognize seeing. It's like this grandfather spirit that's around me a lot. And he was like kind of just like chilling with his back against a tree. And he was like, oh, like the energy I got from him was like, oh, you're here. Like, cool. You can see me. Like I've been waiting for you kind of thing. And then I feel something coming towards me from my right. And what I felt coming towards me felt big. And it felt like a different kind of energy that it was unfamiliar. So I look over to my right and I see a very, very tall figure. very tall, like 7-8 feet tall. And it was a shadow. But it was an interesting shadow because it was darkest in the center. And it kind of like how flames like go out or
Right.
smoke kind of dissipates towards the edges. It
Mhm.
looked just like that. And it had very, very broad shoulders, and it was walking very robotically. And it was walking towards me, and I flipped out. I was like, what is that? What is it? And she's like, I don't know. I can't see it, but I'm freaking out. And she's a great therapist because she understands like the spiritual side that I
Right.
have. And I think that she might experience some things too, even though she won't tell me. But so she knew kind of what I was dealing with, but not necessarily what I was dealing with. And so it was walking towards me, and I just scared the shit out of me. Like I was traumatized, and I had dreams about it, and I was thinking about it over and over. And it's not that it had bad energy, but it was just something that came through so clearly and so like abruptly, like it was directly walking towards me. And had I not clicked out of that experience, like I didn't know what was going to happen. And so that really scared me. And it's not that it was scary. I mean, a
It
tall
was something new that you
yeah.
experienced. Could be
Yeah. And for somebody that's
apprehensive.
yeah, that's perfect. And for someone that's experienced so many things, like a new experience is kind of a big deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I, did a lot of thinking about it and like, okay, what is this shadow figure? And then I was thinking about like what a shadow is. And then I was like, okay, so a shadow is cast by light. And so if that figure was a shadow, then where was the light coming from? And I was like, oh, I'm the light. The light's coming from me. Like whatever it was, maybe it's like that's the shadow of some.
Yeah.
Is it going to freeze up? Okay, good.
Still okay.
That's the shadow of something that I'm experiencing. So anyways, and then, a couple people have told me their ideas on what they think it is. And some people have experienced the same things. And I've actually made a CE5 guided meditation, which I can also send you the link for.
Yes,
I didn't write it, but I voiced it.
Mm-hmm.
And the person actually that wrote it, he said that he had some really cool experiences, and he had a similar experience with the shadow figures from listening to it.
Okay.
So anyways, I find that really, really cool. And I think that has something, my personal belief is that it is, an ET, interdimensional something, etc. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I do feel a very strong call towards like the Nordic energy. As far as genealogical, that's like where my background comes from, and it would make sense. It's my ancestors, perhaps. I don't know. There's so many undefined, and that's what is so easy to get lost in, is trying to figure out what it is and what it wants.
And not all the time it has a name that we as limited humans can recognize.
Yeah.
We can't put labels on every single thing.
Yes.
Because sometimes there's no labels that we know of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes they tell you words and you're like, I don't know that word. And Google doesn't know that word, but write it down.
Right.
What do you want me to do with that? But I think that journaling has, if anybody is interested in progressing in their journey with their spirituality, I would just highly recommend journaling. The simple science that I've understood behind it is that, like, if you're having a dream or if you're having a vision or an experience, that's all in your head, which is like a different dimension. If you think about like on a tree, perhaps, right? The different branches being different dimensions. So if you are having an experience and it's in your head, if you physically take the time to write it down and bring it into this physical world, it creates like a streamline, like an elevator, like a pathway. And the more you do it, the more it solidifies. So the more that you can experience these things. And, you do have also control over what you experience. So some things can be kind of scary and some things can be really, really peaceful and beautiful. And like I told my daughter to tell the ghost to go away. I mean, you can take control of that and set your boundaries with entities and spirits in the same way that you do with people too. So
Exactly. I tell that to my students when I teach mediumship. So, psychic and mediumship, and I give them exercises to do. And the first thing I tell them, you're in control. So if you don't like the spirit that's there, even though it's supposed to be in the light, they could act like jerks, they
Yeah.
could act really nasty. They could be antagonizing, even though they're in the light. But, you could just say, no, you know what? I don't feel like dealing with you today.
Yeah.
Go next. That's
You
it.
can. Yeah.
Right.
It's
So,
totally true.
so um, is there anything, we're coming kind of close to the end, but is there anything else you want to share with us? I mean, your stories and your experiences are wonderful. And I'm with your son. I wish you would have taken a picture of the owl. But
I know. I know. Well, I mean, it's not the last time I'm gonna see it, I'm sure. So
I'm sure. I'm sure.
we'll get
I'm
there.
sure. I'm sure you'll be able to set the intention. Hey,
A lot
um,
of people want to see you.
yeah, exactly. And not for proof, not for proof, just so we can understand
To learn, right?
to learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I can talk forever, but we are totally getting at the end. So I feel like I got you most of what I wanted to share today. And thank you for holding the space for me to do it. And it was very easy to talk to you. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for being here and for sharing because not everybody's willing to share. So I am very happy that you are. And I want to thank everyone here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing, liking. Let's follow our guests. By the time this, you'll have all the description, all the links and everything in the description, I should say. And there's no reason why not to follow and continue to check her out. And
Yeah.
as always, love you. Bye.